In a pulse-pounding clash of mistaken identities, two black twin brothers, both secret FBI agents, find themselves staring down the barrels of police guns in a crowded bar, unaware of each other's covert lives. What unfolds is a heart-stopping tale of loyalty, betrayal, and a truth that could shatter everything they know. Buckle up for a story that will keep you guessing until the very last word. If you love gripping narratives packed with twists, subscribe now to never miss another thrilling tale. In the dim, smoky haze of the Rusty Anchor, a dive bar tucked in the grittiest corner of Philadelphia, Marcus and Malik Jackson, identical twins with sharp jawlines and eyes that missed nothing, sat at opposite ends of the bar, unaware that their lives were about to collide in a way neither could have predicted. Marcus, nursing a whiskey neat, scanned the room with the trained vigilance of an FBI undercover agent, his leather jacket concealing the badge he hadn't flashed in months. He was deep in a sting operation, tracking a drug ring funneling heroin through the city's underbelly, and tonight, he'd gotten a tip that a deal was going down in the bar's backroom. Malik, meanwhile, sipped a soda water at a corner booth, his own FBI badge tucked away. His mission entirely different. He was hunting a corrupt cop rumored to be shaking down local businesses, and the trail had led him here. The twins, estranged for years after a bitter falling out over their father's unsolved murder, hadn't spoken in a decade, each believing the other had abandoned their shared dream of justice. Neither knew the other had joined the FBI, their paths diverging into parallel lives of secrecy. The bar pulsed with life, rowdy laughter, clinking glasses, and the low hum of a jukebox playing Marvin Gaye. Marcus caught the eye of a wary man in a red cap slipping toward the backroom, his target. He rose, adjusting the concealed Glock at his hip, when a commotion erupted at the bar's entrance. 4 uniformed cops stormed in, guns drawn, shouting for everyone to freeze. The crowd scattered, drinks spilling, as the lead officer, a burly man with a buzz cut named Officer Delaney, zeroed in on Malik, who'd stood to assess the chaos. "You, hands up now!" Delaney barked, his gun trained on Malik, who froze, his instincts screaming to comply but his training urging caution. Marcus, halfway to the backroom, spun at the sound of his brother's voice, Malik's calm, measured tone cutting through the panic. "Officer, let's talk this through." Marcus's heart lurched. He hadn't heard that voice in years, but it was unmistakable. His twin here now. Confusion gripped him, but there was no time to process. Delaney, face red with fury, shouted, "Don't move, or I swear I'll shoot." The bar's patrons cowered, and Marcus's hand twitched toward his gun, his mission forgotten. Malik, reading the room, saw the other cops fanning out, their eyes darting nervously. Something was off. These weren't routine patrol officers. Their movements were too aggressive, their focus too singular. Malik's mind raced. Was this the corrupt cop he was after? Delaney's partner, a younger officer named Torres, swung his gun toward Marcus, mistaking his sudden movement for a threat.
"You two, hands up!" Torres yelled.
Marcus, caught between his brother and his cover, raised his hands slowly, his eyes locked on Malik, who hadn't yet noticed him in the chaos. The twins, mirrors of each other in appearance but strangers in life, were now both staring down police barrels, their true identities hidden from everyone, including each other. The air crackled with tension as Delaney stepped closer to Malik, his gun inches from Malik's chest. "You think you can run drugs through my city?" he snarled, revealing his assumption that Malik was the dealer he'd been tipped off about. A tip that, unbeknownst to anyone, had been planted by the real drug lord to throw the cops off his trail. Malik's eyes narrowed. He knew a setup when he saw one. "I'm not who you think," he said evenly, his FBI training keeping his voice steady. Across the room, Marcus's mind spun. Drugs, Malik, impossible. But then, why was he here? Doubt crept in, a decade of resentment clouding his judgment. Had Malik gone rogue, joined the very criminals they'd sworn to fight? The thought twisted Marcus's gut, but he couldn't act, not yet. The bar's backroom door creaked open, and the wary man in the red cap slipped out, unnoticed by the cops, who were too focused on the twins. Marcus caught the movement, his instincts screaming that the real dealer was escaping, but he couldn't move without blowing his cover, or risking Malik's life. Delaney, growing erratic, grabbed Malik by the collar, slamming him against the bar. "Where's the stash?" he demanded. Malik, cool under pressure, said nothing, his hands still raised, but his eyes flicked to Marcus for the first time. Recognition hit like a freight train. "Marcus," he whispered, shock breaking his composure. Marcus's breath caught, his own disbelief mirroring his brother's. Before either could process, Torres shouted, "He's got a gun." Misreading Marcus's subtle shift toward his holster, the room exploded into chaos. Delaney fired a warning shot into the ceiling, plaster raining down, and the patron screamed, diving for cover. Malik, seizing the moment, twisted free of Delaney's grip, disarming him with a swift move honed by years of training. Marcus, acting on instinct, tackled Torres, pinning him to the ground before he could fire. The other two cops hesitated, unsure who to target in the melee. "Hoof FBI!" Malik shouted, flashing his badge, his voice booming over the chaos. Marcus, stunned, fumbled for his own badge, holding it aloft. "Who FBI?" he echoed, his eyes locked on Malik, a mix of relief and betrayal flooding him. The cops froze, guns wavering. As the truth hit, they'd targeted federal agents. But the twist wasn't over. Delaney, scrambling to his feet, laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "FBI? Perfect," he sneered, pulling a second gun from his ankle holster. "You're both in my way." The revelation hit like a shockwave. Delaney was the corrupt cop Malik had been hunting, and he'd orchestrated the entire scene to eliminate threats to his side hustle with the drug ring. The twins, now side by side, exchanged a glance, years of estrangement melting into a wordless understanding. They moved as one, years of shared instincts kicking in. Marcus dove left, drawing Delaney's fire, while Malik lunged right, disarming one of the other cops. The bar became a battlefield, tables overturned, bottles shattering as the twins fought with lethal precision, their movements a mirror of each other's. But Delaney was no amateur. He fired wildly, grazing Marcus's arm, blood seeping through his jacket. Malik, seeing his brother hit, roared with a fury he hadn't felt since their father's death. He tackled Delaney, pinning him against the bar, but not before Delaney's radio crackled. "Backup's here." Sirens wailed outside, and the twins realized the fight wasn't over. The wary man in the red cap, the real dealer, had slipped away, and now more corrupt cops, or worse, innocent ones caught in the crossfire, were closing in. Marcus, clutching his bleeding arm, nodded to Malik. "We end this together," he said. The first words they'd spoken to each other in years. Malik nodded back, a flicker of their old bond reigniting. They fought their way to the back room, where they found evidence of Delaney's operation, ledgers, cash, and drugs stashed in a safe. But the biggest twist came when Malik cracked the safe's code, revealing a photo of their father smiling with Delaney years ago. The truth slammed into them. Delaney had been their father's partner, the one who'd betrayed him, leading to his murder. Rage and grief fueled their resolve. As backup stormed the bar, the twins barricaded the door, working in sync to upload the evidence to the FBI's servers, exposing Delaney's network. The final standoff was brutal. Delaney, cornered, tried to bargain, claiming he'd spared their father's life once out of loyalty. "You call that loyalty?" Marcus spat, his fist connecting with Delaney's jaw. Malik restrained him, whispering, "He's not worth it." The twins held their ground until FBI reinforcements arrived, tipped off by their upload. Delaney was cuffed, his empire crumbling, but the twins' reunion was bittersweet. Bloodied and bruised, they stood outside the bar as dawn broke, sirens fading. "You never called," Malik said, his voice thick. "You never tried," Marcus shot back. But their eyes told a different story: regret, love, and a promise to rebuild. The case was closed, but their story was just beginning, a new mission to heal the rift between them, forged in the fire of that fateful night.